Bull, bull, bull. Where are these price targets going for Bitcoin, crypto, altcoins? What is happening? Is it about to break down? Is it about to continue higher? We're going to be breaking all this down and more. Let's go ahead and get the countdown going. We got to get this retweeted, get the people in the room. I am back. Had a little trip to New York. Had some things I had to take care of up there. But this market is absolutely exploding. What are we to do about it? What is up? So everybody hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell. Make sure you're retweeting this out to your friends and family over there on at Kelly Kellum, and also, of course, at Academy BitLab. Is this live streaming? Give me 1 second. We're going to be getting going here in just a second. We're going to get some music on, and you know what? We got so much to talk about today, so let's go ahead and dive into some tunes, because this is feeling good. The market's doing exactly what we were calling out for the last, almost 8 months. This is exactly what we've been waiting on. So my question is, what are you doing right now? Are you sitting on your hands? Are you trading? Have you stacked in? Are you trying to get those last stacks on these dips that are popping in, popping out on these different assets? What are we doing? Let's go ahead and talk about it. Let's get this music ripping, because this market is absolutely crushing it to the upside.
Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. SEC and its policies rely on whatever Gary thinks. Bitcoin to flight to quality. I heard that from Larry Fink. Every hour losing purchasing power on food and shelter. It's not our fault. Blame the coal. It's the political cowards. When it comes to gas, our purchasing power just got cut in half. I sit back and laugh, open my bag, fill it with stacks and sats. Bitcoin, pumping, altcoins, pumping. I've been preparing for this. Can't tell me nothing.
And I believe crypto will play that type of role as a flight to quality. We are hearing from clients around the world.
Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this.
And I believe crypto will play that type of role as
Bitcoin, pump, altcoin, pump.
We are hearing from clients around the world.
Can't nobody tell me nothing.
Crypto, depending on how you think about it. And I believe crypto will play that type of role as a
Can't
flight
nobody tell me nothing. Bitcoin, pump.
We are hearing from clients around the world.
It's time to dive in. Everybody, I want to see roll call right now. If you're here, if you're watching live, get active in the live chat. Throw up the bull sign. Let me know how you're feeling. If you're watching on Twitter, also activate those comments, because I can see it in the live chat as well. Everybody retweet this. We got a lot to talk about. We got to dive into so many charts today. Let's go. The bull market is absolutely ripping to the upside, just like we've been talking about here on the BitLab Academy stream for the last 7 months. And it is, just from the day of the election, November 5th, to where we just pumped yesterday, that is a 34.85% move. That is $23,250 plus in the matter of days. This is how quick it changes when you dive into these markets, when you understand that the bullish pressure underneath of what's happening right now and how far this has to go. We've got to talk up. I just froze up there. We've got to talk about where this market's going. Not only Bitcoin, Ethereum, Avalanche, Cardano, XRP. Is it about to absolutely melt some faces, or is it going to just trick people and then, kind of break down again? What's going on with the AI narrative? What's going on with DPEN? We're going to be diving into some charts. At first, we're going to talk about a little bit of the context. I had a needed sort of trip that was up to New York this last weekend. I was fairly active in the Discord, shared a lot of charts, but we didn't have any live streams. We have so much to talk about today, so I want to see each and every one of you get active here on the stream. I want to see you hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button, ding the bell, and of course, making sure you head over to myprofilex.com at Kelly Kellum or at Academy BitLab, and make sure that you are hitting that retweet, hitting that like button and showing some love, getting this out to your friends and family. And where you do that at is right here on my profile or at Academy BitLab. Hit that retweet, hit the like button, get it out there. We got 86 people here on Twitter. I'm sure we'll have several hundred more. We got 119 people watching. I know we got a lot more pouring in here in just a few minutes, but we got some things to talk about because, yes, this is pushing up, but we got a little bit of a pullback. But remember, we've been talking about this for months. We want to build that stairway to heaven, which means we need to watch for rise, retrace, continuation, taking advantage of these opportunities when we can, not seeing this and capitulating and then missing the rest of the absolutely life-changing move that is coming for Bitcoin and all these different assets that you're holding. Some of the assets you have are going to be left behind. Some are going to fail. What are we to do right now when we're stacking in? Well, let's talk about it because the crypto market has pushed up into that $3 trillion range, and it's only just begun. It's only just begun right now. Yes, we've been setting the best floor that we could ever imagine for what's happening in this market, where it's going and how it can get there. And that's what we need to talk about. And then we're going to be diving into a bunch of price targets for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a bunch of altcoins. So everybody get activated on the stream because we got a lot of emotional games going on right now. If we pull this into the 15-minute chart, look at this, just pushing up, breaking through the target that I outlined. This right here, right where this chop, this was the target that I outlined when price was down here, and it went right up into it. Now, some of you may or may not have seen that, but I did share it in the BitLab Academy Discord and in the Signals Lab. So shout out to everybody that is a member, and shout out to every one of you that has been stacking over the last many years, many months, or even days leading up to this. You are not behind the ball. Even if you're just looking at getting in right now, I want you to realize the Bitcoin price right now is not high. Remember, we had Dave Weisberger on here. Was it last week? Yeah, I believe it was last week. And he said right after the election, he said, you know, one of the things that's important is that people don't realize that where the price is right now is not high. It's completely wrong way to look at it. He argues that price is about 5% of where it should be based on the actual value, the intrinsic value, the utility value, the digital asset value, the store of currency value that Bitcoin is. People are just now waking up to what this is about. So let's dive in and talk about what's going on here in this market. Again, shout out to our channel partners, which you can see directly above my head right here, NordVPN, CoinW, and Arculus. I got some links for you here in a little bit, but let's dive into what we want to talk about right now. We had the biggest single daily move in history of Bitcoin yesterday with $8,343 in one day. And this is just the beginning. What about when we get those $10,000 moves, $15,000 moves, maybe even $25,000 moves in a single day? Well, how could that happen? Well, we're going to talk about that because it is important, to understand where we are going and what the fuel is for how we can get there. Let's go ahead and hit the like button there on that post because it's a good post. And that is right here. Dennis Porter actively out there pushing for Bitcoin, lobbying different Bitcoin regulations and bills and getting, state treasury reserve set up and he is out there pushing, and he's now become somewhat of an international Bitcoin lobbyist, as well as basically just working to get Bitcoin integrated as much as possible. And he said 5 countries have reached out since I offered to help 15 hours ago. Now the success we have had passing legislation in the U.S. can be exported the world over. This has only just begun. The price is not high. It is just now breaking out of the base for what we have built over the last 7 months, consolidating around that $50,000 to $70,000 region. I talked about also a chart that I shared about a month and a half ago, and then I retweeted it again a few days ago, maybe last week sometime. $75,000 is the base of the next major move. We broke through that $75,000. And what happened to price action? Look at this right here. This was the base, basically the gateway to that next leg up. And look at this. It broke through 75 right here, comes back down, finds support in this region, and is just sitting here just like, oh, just getting that final fuel in the car, and then boom, pump to the upside. I got my cousin calling me, decline. He knows I stream every day. I don't know why he thinks he should be calling me right now. Let me send him a text message. Live streaming, you idiot. Alrighty, there we go. Now, we see, as we broke through this zone, 75,876, boom, this is where we got that next leg to the upside. And is this over? Is this the top? Some people will tell you that the market cycle top is in. This is only just beginning. And this is why. We see we have 5 countries reaching out. How do we get activated? We also saw 2 weeks ago, Van Eck was discussing Argentina, El Salvador, Ethiopia, and a number of other countries are already using state resources to mine Bitcoin. And there's, I would venture a pretty high probability that some of those, very oil-rich Middle Eastern countries and other BRICS nations, I think there's a lot of not only institutions, corporations, but national sovereign state actors out there that are stacking into Bitcoin without letting the world know about it yet. Why? Because once they let the world know about it, then the price also starts to run away because that's super bullish. So as we see these things develop, understand we are just getting started. Let's roll this, baby. We got 200 people in the room, 25 likes. Everybody hit the like button, show some love because this market is about to absolutely explode. And let's listen to Samson Mao talk about this. And he says, imagine Berkshire Hathaway, Apple, Microsoft all buying at the same time while MicroStrategy is trying to deploy $42 billion as the U.S. is acquiring 1 million Bitcoin for a strategic reserve. And realize that million Bitcoin, 200,000 Bitcoin per year, which we'll get into in a second. I think that's like $82 billion at today's current value. It might be even more than that. But let's go ahead and see what they have to say about this.
So the Omega candle will simply just appear because it'll happen all at once. Like we're talking about earlier, many people will not understand Bitcoin, but they will try to copy their neighbor because they don't want to be left out. Or you can call it FOMO if you want. But this, imagine Berkshire Hathaway, Apple, Microsoft all buying at the same time. Well, MicroStrategy is trying to spend $42 billion on Bitcoin, while the US is trying to accumulate 1 million Bitcoin over a 4-year period, while public mining companies stop selling Bitcoin they mine because they can also run a MicroStrategy playbook and borrow.
While hodlers don't sell.
While hodlers don't sell.
We're only just getting started. The what is in store so far outweighs any sort of bearish narrative. You cannot even imagine what is going. Now, there'll be some dips along the way. There'll be some emotional trading, but we need to be ready for that. We need to be aware of it. We need to have a strategy, and you should already understand what it is your goals are for this next 12 months. Because depending on what you're doing and how you enact that, you have a very real chance of somewhere between 7 and 30xing what you have in the market right now if you don't mess this up. So what does this mean? Well, we see also BlackRock quietly doubling down on Bitcoin as the price suddenly rockets towards $100,000. You guys realize that the price action, if we come over here, let's go to the daily. Not that long ago. This was, let's see, the middle of September price came down to $52,000 from this point right here to where we are. Let's see, from this point right here to where we are today. That is all the way up here. It went up 69%, $36,000. And now it's currently up about $33,000, 62% in the matter of about a month and a half. Is that even a month and a half? Yeah, about a month and a half, 62%. Now, if we did that again from where we're at right now, let's go ahead and let's actually, it doesn't matter. Let's see right here. It's 80. Let's do 87 right here. Let's double click here, minimize the indicators. Let's go right to where the price is. Now let's take a measurement. 62%. Again, that would be $141,000. Now, TJ and I were talking this morning before we all went live with Discover Crypto and BitLab Academy and Blockchain Basement. We're all in here. We discuss these things, and some of us have differing opinions, and we kind of, I don't want to say come to a consensus, but it helps shape, like, when you're too bullish or too bearish. It's so important to have community around you, which is why I'm so proud of each and every one of you for being a part of this community here at BitLab Academy, here at Hit Network, here Discover Crypto Blockchain Basement. Maybe you only watch me, maybe you watch all three, maybe you watch a bunch of others. I just hope that all of you understand that you have a community here in BitLab Academy, so we can make sure that we're looking at different lenses on the market. Because on the more conservative side, I was looking at maybe $130,000, $140,000 on the low side of where the price action can go for Bitcoin. But now, understanding how bullish this is, regardless of if you like Donald Trump or not, let that go. There's a vote. We got a new administration that's coming in. Look at this like an investor. What does this mean as an investor? Look at it just through that lens. We have the pathway cleared to move aggressively bullish, to open up the capital channels, to embolden those that were on the sidelines about, oh, is this going to be safe or not? The time is now. $140,000, I think very likely we can get to, absolutely. I had a target somewhere in the $180,000 to $220,000 range for Bitcoin, and we're going to dive in a few minutes why I think we're going to go much higher than that, and we're going to look at some of those altcoins as well. Shout out to everybody here. Again, let's do a roll call. Everybody that's tuned in right now, we got 363 people tuned in. Big love to each and every one of you. Type in right now what city, what state, or what city, what country, if you're not in the U.S., where are you tuned in from right now? How far and wide do we have our community coming together? Shout out to everybody that's here on a daily basis. Bad Fox, Seth Shepard, Sufficient Enough, Crypto Crank, my guy. We got to get you on the stream, brother. Hit me on Twitter. Let's talk some markets together. I'd love to introduce you to the audience. Steve-O, Aaron Kubak. We got Minja Forth. Good to see you back in here. Andy D, Chris Pfaff. Shout out to everybody. And also to Tater and Shake and Bake. I want to say special shout out to Shake and Bake here in the live chat. If I don't know if he's in here or not, he had a birthday this weekend. Special shout out to the fam. You know. Now let's get back into what we're talking about, because we got some TA we got to look at here in just a few minutes. In addition to BlackRock quietly doubling down on Bitcoin, this is so bullish. In addition to that, we also see NASDAQ-listed Chinese microchip company Nanolabs now accepts Bitcoin as payment. Is China getting prepared? The companies in China do not do these sorts of things without the CCP approval, without the Chinese Communist Party's approval for what they're doing. Why would they have Bitcoin as payment if the majority, if basically people in China can't utilize this? Well, I do think that the winds are going to be shifting, and the capital channels that are coming in from the Asian markets might be opening up very widely, and this is going to be absolutely incredibly bullish. And remember, are we near a top? How could we be near a top if these capital channels are about to open? Let's go ahead and hit the like button on that one. Next one, we got Cynthia Loomis says we could pass the strategic Bitcoin reserve bill in the first 100 days of Trump's presidency. This is that 200,000 per year, consistent buying almost every day for a year, for the next 5 years to get 1 million Bitcoin. That's about 5% of the supply. Are you kidding me? Let's go. And then we got, remember, all of this is before we still have $16 billion coming from FTX to come in with basically redistributing those funds to crypto, mostly crypto-focused people that have had $16 billion sidelined for the last 2 years. And it's coming right in time for Christmas, just as the market's heating up. Do you think that they're just not going to put that back in the market? No, they're not going to put $16 billion in. If 100% of it went in, I'd be surprised. If less than 50% of it went back into crypto, I'd be surprised. I think it's going to be somewhere between 70 to 90%, let's call it 80% back into crypto exposure, buying Bitcoin, buying alts. This is what we're here for. This is what we've been stacking for. This is what we've been waiting on. So let's get excited, but let's not lose sight of what is going to happen in this market and the moves that are going to be in this market that are going to shake you out. Do not mess this up. And then we see U.S. demand. The demand is back. Since the recent U.S. election, Coinbase Premium has been trading at over $100, plus $100. This means how much the cost of Bitcoin is, spot Bitcoin on Coinbase on aggregate compared to exchanges worldwide. When a huge amount of demand comes in, you get a premium on that index. We used to call, I think we called it the kimchi premium in Korea. And I don't mean that to be, sorry, I got the cough for some reason. I don't mean that to be insensitive. They really called it the kimchi premium because there's such appetite for Bitcoin in Korea, a cycle or two back, that because there's so much more demand for Bitcoin, while it was maybe lacking or not as demand wasn't as high in other areas, you're paying a bit of a premium for Bitcoin in Korea. Now you're seeing this in the US. There's a premium. This indicates a strong shift towards risk on sentiment following Trump's win. This is what we want to see. Let's hit the like on that post because we're using it. Now, next one right here. Since the end of September, bulls have been steadily increasing pressure with taker orders, buying. It's interesting to observe how this pressure continues to build. Now, price is going up, but now people are like, okay, let's go. There's a lot of uncertainty as price action was kind of like not breaking out. And then once we broke past that $75,000 mark, we're starting to see increases yet still. You're not bullish enough. You're nowhere near bullish enough. So be aware of that and shout out to everybody. Now we got to remember, we're diving into some TA, some targets here in just a couple minutes. So everybody, let's get through this. Now we see Bitcoin Strength Index just went into I don't even know what I was trying to type. It's time to melt the legs off the bears and send those that have put their conviction on the line to ride to the Valhalla mode. This is the mode we're in, Ultra Bull. Those of you that have been stacking get to take advantage of this. The profits that you're going to make if you don't mess this up is going to be insane. None of this is financial advice. This is how this market operates and the fact that this is the best asset in the history of the world. And the largest players in the world, countries, corporations, Microsoft, and so many more. The capital flow that's about to come into this market is insane. And remember, we only got about 5 to 8% of the world populace that is involved in the crypto market yet. And so we have so many of retail that's going to be coming in too. And now we have regulated means that people can go into the crypto market and buy on Coinbase or Kraken or Binance or doesn't matter, name the exchange. But you also have those that are, pension funds that they're going to get exposure through things like the Bitcoin spot ETFs that are out there and index funds that are starting to add Bitcoin to those exposure as well. If that's you, if you've been stacking, congrats. 90% of the world still think that crypto is magic internet money and don't trust it. But you see through the mirage of dystopian propaganda from our messed up government trying to keep this charade alive, meaning the fiat dollar. Buy Bitcoin, get some exposure to alts, exit the system, and hodl the alts till near Bitcoin top, and then sell them for Bitcoin. That's the strategy. Hodl Bitcoin like your future depends on it, because it does. Educate those you love about Bitcoin also so they can participate in their own future as well. The future is here. Let's go. This is what we're talking about. You see this when price action breaks above basically the 70 line on the relative strength index. You can't see it over here on the left, but this is right when it breaks and boom, pop to the upside. Same thing, right when it breaks. This is that launch point to the upside. Boom, right when it breaks, launch to the upside. So it's not necessarily, especially when you're looking here on the 2-month candle chart, it doesn't mean overbought and oversold. RSI, relative strength index. So what's the strength in the underlying buying pressure and activity in the market? This just broke above the 70 line. We are about to light the candles on fire. Do not get chopped out because you see a 1%, 3%, 8% move to the downside right as we're breaking out. Take advantage of this market. We got 499 people in the room. Shout out to each and every one of you. Remember, we do giveaways weekly. We will do one at the end of the stream. In fact, on that note, let's do one for today specifically, and we'll draw from last week as well. I need a pen. Give me two numbers. Give me a number between 8 and 14. First number I see, I'll write it down, and also give me a number between 30 and 45. Those two numbers, I'll watch for those. I'll write those numbers down, and then we will be able to randomly draw from last week and today. If you want to participate in it, remember, everybody should participate in this one because we're drawing one from today's as well. Come over here to this link on my Twitter page, @KellyKellum. or at Academy BitLab. Hit this retweet button, hit the like button. That's how you're entered to win. We will be drawing one from today's, from this post right here. So we will, you have a very high chance of getting it. Let's see, what was the first one? Let's see, 11. All right, 11. That's the first number. And what was the second one? 41. All right. We got our two numbers. That's how we're going to randomly pick a person from those people showing some love to the channel. Now, coming on back here, we're just getting the data signals show. We have just entered the oops, I crapped my pants mode, which means I cannot believe looking at your portfolio. Make sure you're taking profits along the way, especially with those mid cap and smaller cap coins, rotating, pulling out your initial investment, getting it either into Bitcoin or into stables for dry powder to take advantage of dips on assets that you haven't stacked in enough to yet. Guys, girls, it's about to get silly. And then we see right here, every time frame from the daily through the yearly, Bitcoin is above 70 on the relative strength index. This is indicative of incredible buying strength. That's what the strength is, the buying strength, the underlying buying strength of the price. So do not be surprised if by this price action. This is what he's talking about. See this above 72. It's up here 74, above 78. We're seeing the strength matriculate across all different time frames, showing that the strength, the buying pressure, the sentiment is agreeing with higher prices because the buyers, the way the best voting mechanism ever that gives you data is what do the buyers say? And there's so much strength in buying on every time frame. It's not only suggesting up, we're seeing up is become a reality. Now, let's go ahead and continue on. Altcoins as well. Altcoins have broken out of years of consolidation. This is that, look at this, accumulation. And then back here again, 2016, that breakout, look, retest, launch, breakout, retest, constricted in here, and starting to get the start of the launch. We have so much opportunity here. And I want to scream it from the top of the rooftop right now. You are not too late. If you've been waiting to see the strength, great. That, it's no problem being a conservative investor. But if you buy here, you don't sell because it dips. If you buy here, you need to have a multi-month conviction, hopefully a multi-year conviction. So into, I would say all the way into, 9 to 14 month conviction. And we're gonna be with you every step of the way to start talking about how we can identify when we're going to be rotating into profits, whether it's into Bitcoin or taking some off the table into stable coins. But now is the time. If you're not there yet, make sure you can do everything possible so you can take advantage of the best opportunity that we've probably seen, not only in years, but this asset class is the strongest it's ever been because of the power brokers that are behind it now. And we have a government administration that is supportive of it. This is what it has been all about, everybody. Now, before we dive in, we're about to do some TA. We're going to be breaking down price targets on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and several other alts. So I want to see you guys spamming the chat right now with some alts, and I'll try to get some of those as well because we got about 30 minutes or so to break down some targets, to talk about what our strategy is. So with that being said, again, I want to shout out our channel partners, NordVPN. Make sure you are protecting yourself while you guys are spamming there in the chat all your altcoins you want to see. I got to just break it down for you. Head over to nordvpn.com/BitLab. You get 4 months free. And it's a great way to help protect yourself, especially going into these next months when you start having so much more money than you've ever had in your life because this market is just exploding higher. And we're going to be walking you through it every step of the way. But make sure you protect yourself. NordVPN.com/BitLab. You get 4 months extra free. And it breaks down to like $2 or $3 a month. I really recommend you guys. This is a VPN I've been using for the last many years. And then, of course, make sure you head over to getarculus.com and you can use right here, getarculus.com, and you can use code LAB. I think it's BitLab20 or LAB20. It's one of the two. We got an extra 10% that we can use periodically. So use that. Make sure you use the best crypto cold storage solution out there so you can protect all that crypto that you've been stacking. Get involved, protect yourself, protect your future. Now let's talk about where these prices are going. In the near term, we got to look at the liquidation heat map. Here we go. Look at this. It came down, tried to scoop this up, didn't quite get it. Now back up here, flush this out. Price action is just It's doing everything it can to move the capital from the impatient to the patient. But we want to talk about where this price is going. We got some areas this price can pull back to. We got the CME futures gap right here from 78 to 80, basically 78.2 to 88 to 87, $80.7 thousand. Will we get it? We'll have to see. We've seen in historically the start of 2020 run, we had a pretty big gap that didn't fill until the price came all the way back around. Excuse me. But we do have to be aware of this. But when we're looking at the price action like this, let's go ahead. Let's see if I got a cleaner chart. Okay, there we go. Double click here. All right. Let's actually do a different chart. BTC USDT. Let's do Kraken. Okay, here we go. Empty chart. Let's talk about where this might be going. And we're going to do Ethereum, and we're going to do quite a few others. And I'm scrolling through. I see you guys. You guys got a lot of, you're getting active in here. Big love to each and every one of you that's tuned in. Shout out. I'm so sorry that I wasn't here with you guys Friday and Monday. I had some things I had to take care of in New York. But you know what? These markets, golly, I'm so excited about all this. But let's talk about where this can go, because what just happened with price breaking through this level that it consolidated for 7 months, this is what we call price discovery. Price discovery means it's going into areas that price has never been. And so it makes it a little bit more tricky when you're doing TA, because you don't have volume or price memory. Like for instance, right here, see this chop? Well, why did it chop there? Well, let's look over here. Look, we had a lot of price memory over here, a lot of interaction trouble at this level, bounce at this level, rejection at this level, rejection at this level. So you can see this gives you a little bit of color as to where there may be hurdles, whether it be resistance or support on price action. Now we're going into basically uncharted territory. So let's do some basic stuff first. We're going to do a simple fib, which is if you're on Macintosh, it's Option F. If you're on PC, it's Alt F. And then you click on the chart at the top of the move. Just move your mouse, and then you click again at the bottom of the move. And I'm going to move this over so we can get a little bit more. Boom. Now we can see. Look at where price just went to. Had you done a fib, you can already see that you had a target right here at the 1.382. See this? And if you don't have these, by the way, these are known as fib extensions. If you don't have these showing up on your chart, or if you have the super colorful one and it's irritating to you, or you don't want to use the hotkeys, you come over here, 1, 2, 3, the third one down, hit the little arrow, fib retracement. And then once you draw it on here, you can double click on it, and then you can add some. I have 0.382, 0.618, 0.65. This is your golden pocket. And then remember, you don't have to put these in order, because math, it will automatically order these for you. But then, of course, you have the 1.618, the 1.382. You basically do these extensions: 1.382, 1.786, 1.618. So we're getting, and then the 2.618, 3.618. These are your golden extensions. But look at this. It took right up to the first target, which is this 1.382. Now the next level up is about $100,000, which is right here. I don't know why I'm coughing, which is the 1.618. The next one up is the 1.786, 113,000. Now this is where it starts getting interesting. I expect we will make it in this cycle at least up here to the 2.618. Now this is all the way up here at 100 and basically just shy of $160,000, $158,000. But then you get into the 3.618, which, as you can see here, is $214,000. And then it starts getting melt your face off, $267,000 here at the 4.618. And then the 5.618 is up here at $322,000. Now, the interesting thing about this is it's going to somewhat depend on the timeline over the next, month to the next year. At what point along the way, some of these various institutions, some of these various, things like Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, governments, we're going to have to see how the news flows. There's arguments that This is going to be diminishing returns, meaning we won't get as explosive as a market pump as we saw in the last cycle. Well, I would argue that first off, the last cycle saw a little bit of a muted bull market because of these two double tops. But when you look at this, I want you to just notice. Let's go ahead and see historically. Option F from the top here to the bottom. Stretch that out. And what do we see? Action went all the way up here into basically, look at this, 2.618, all the way here, basically the 3.618. So if we're getting diminishing returns, the argument would be we won't go as high as this in the next run. On the flip side, we also saw regulatory suppression in the market that took the wind out of the sails of the last cycle, which means right in here where you had the Chinese mining ban kick in, and then there is, 30% of the Bitcoin miners that were global were in China, and a lot of them had to move and sell Bitcoin and close shop. And so there's a lot and fear that brought the price down. But then everybody was so sure it was going to go to 100. People were not willing to sell, and there's still this speculative pump that got us back up here, just barely broke above this, up into this $69,000 range. This cycle, there is an argument or some belief that what chart were we looking at? BTC USDT, and it was Kraken. Let's go back. There is some belief that we do have an opportunity to sort of break structure here. Now, everybody says that every cycle. You have to be aware of that. So you need to be adaptable to a potential $120,000 to $140,000 Bitcoin, which would be that diminishing return. But you also have to realize that it's a snowball rolling downhill right now with the potential pressure for buying, with ultra wealthy people out there becoming aware of it, with nation states realizing this is going to be a race to get stacked, with corporations. If Microsoft does vote on this in the beginning of December and they do buy Bitcoin, that's going to start the flood and open the channels and the race with the other, major tech companies. And then, we're seeing signs and signals that we may just have a flood of just consistent buying pressure that goes into the next few years. We also see 200,000 Bitcoin being bought over the next 5 years. Does that change bear market dynamics in this next cycle? We also see 42 billion coming from Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy that's going to be buying over the next 3 years. In fact, yesterday? They just bought 27,000 more Bitcoin, over $2 billion worth. And then we also see $16 billion coming from FTX. The flood is just getting started. So we have to be open to the fact that this may be the cycle, and then maybe we never get it again, where we outpace what we saw in the previous cycle. So if that's the case, 3.618, let's look at where we were last cycle. That would mean $212,000. You see this, the number here on the right? This is that 3.618. If we outpace that, then you're starting to look up here into these higher realms. This is anything above this is all going to be basically conjecture. So we cannot just trust. You can't just blindly trust. Oh, there's all this money coming in. It's going to be different. And I'm not going to sell until Bitcoin hits $324,000. You're silly if you do that. I am going to start looking at basically starting to rotate profits and figure out, really what my exit strategy is. Once we start getting really into this region here, above 140,000, I'm going to be watching like a hawk to make sure that I don't get left full cycling the market. Meaning, because everybody throw a 1 in chat if there's any asset in your portfolio right now, or any asset, even if you've already gotten out of it, that you have ridden it from, you bought somewhere, even if you bought it low here and the price went up, and then you're like, oh, and then it drops, and then, oh, maybe you buy more here, and then you full cycle it all the way back down to nearly where you bought it or even below. All of us have done it. I'm not willing to do that. Once the price action starts running away, and it has, and it starts breaking above that 1.618, which is 100,000, 1.786, I think this is still very safe. But once we start getting into this zone, 140 plus, I'm going to be watching like a hawk, those 3-day charts, the bearish divergences, the buying pressure, the sentiment, where the regulation is. If China coming in, have they already been in some time? Is there a race? But we got to look at the context here, baby, because this is not only exciting, this can make or break what your type of profitability can be moving into the future. So I think 324,000 is possible, but I'm not holding out to take profit until we get all the way up there, because it very well may just, rotate over somewhere. I mean, we may only even have $158,000 top, being that we have so much capital pressure and new avenues coming on a daily basis. And the regulatory sort of pathway isn't cleared, but it's starting to open up in the US because of a new administration. We have to be very careful about what we're doing in this cycle. But remember, Dr. Jeff Ross, who runs one of the most profitable hedge funds in the US, his target's 450,000. Now, I feel like that's a little hyperbolic, but he's running one of the most profitable hedge funds in the US. Do I think we're going to get there? I hope we do, but I'm not holding out for it. But I do think somewhere between the 180 to 220 is very likely. If we get, above 270, anywhere in here, anywhere in this zone will be a dream buy. Now, I want to know, everybody watching right now, where do you think price is going? Where do you think the Bitcoin top will likely be this cycle? Give me a 2-month period. Or do you think we won't have a top this cycle and this will just be a slow burn with, some 20 or 40% corrections potentially? But it's just because of all this buying pressure and the US Bitcoin strategic reserve, if that gets passed. But if they are buying 200,000 a year for 5 years, and if, MicroStrategy is doing 42 billion buys, $42 billion worth of buying over the next 3 years, do we have a bear cycle like we saw historically? Or are we going to have a slow burn for the next 3 or 4 years? Where do you think price is going? Let's see what you guys are thinking. Now, let's get over to Ethereum, because Ethereum is starting to make some moves, baby. And it's just like we talked about. And in fact, if we pull this up on the chart, it tried to get you. Look at this. Support, broke below support here and sucked, basically bear trapping people's out their face, and then sucked right back inside and then launched up right to the downtrend resistance and then breakout. Now, the important consideration here, this is not just breakout of the downtrend. This broke out and broke above all of this, basically this high range of all of this price action right here. So it broke two structures there, the sideways range and the downtrend, basically the symmetrical triangle, and it just launched from here through these lows, this green line here, and coming all the way up here towards this basically order block here on the BitLab trading stack. And by the way, we did extend the that sale going on because I was traveling this weekend. It's going to, I don't know when it's going to end, because this is just so fun. I want you all to make sure you can participate. This deal is expiring. You can see it. It's right over there, lab.bitlabacademy.com/deal. Get involved with us. You get 15 days free, and then also over 30% off for the life of the account. And if you want to upgrade and get the indicators we got here as well, and the courses, 120 lessons breaking down everything from on-chain data to technical analysis to price action to candles to patterns to strategy. It's all in there, baby. So get involved with what's going on. So let's turn on the BitLab intelligence. You see this? Look at this. Last time we got the trend shift, it went a little sideways and broke down. Do I think that's going to happen again? Maybe not so aggressively, but we do need a little bit of a pullback here to identify where the bullish strength comes in to get that rise, retrace continuation. And look at this. As this is pushing in to the other part of the BitLab trading stack here, the BitLab volume, where you had this order block where there's a lot of liquidity saying there's going to be trouble here. And look at this. Price action pushes up right, kind of short front runs it a little bit, getting a little bit of trouble front running that. And then we look at the BitLab trend fuel down here, showing that the money flow turned back positive. RSI starting to roll over a little bit, but the stochastics are still up, and the VWAP right here is starting. If we maintain it above the zero line, this would be very bullish. And this is predominantly on the dashboard here for all the signals within the trend fuel. One just went from a bullish to neutral, but let's get down to a little bit smaller time frame, and then we're going to do a price target for Ethereum here in a second. Look at that. It's just holding right on the trend signal line. Bullish, the dynamic, I forget what the term is. The The bullish support range right in here. Right, I mean, this is just riding it. Tries to flush out, pushes up. It currently is holding right on the weekly VWAP, right on the trend signal line. If it loses this, it's not the end of the world. We're expecting at some point a pullback. Don't let it wreck your agenda. Don't let it wreck your strategy. If this does come back down, we've got, I would say bouncing somewhere in this 2,900, but really more like the $3,000 region is, a nice level to look for if this comes down. That would wreck a lot of people because it would force a lot of capitulation. But as it stands right now, if this can hold this zone where it is and then push up, then we're looking at another stress point at the $3,500, $3,600 range, maybe a pullback to the zone, and then that basically rise, confirmation, launch. But what are we looking at for in terms of a target? Well, let's look at the last cycle and what's going on right now. Remember, we're starting to see an uptick also. Come on. We're starting to see an uptick on the Ethereum ETFs as well. Okay, let me get that mother sucker. There we go. All right, so turn that off, and now let's look at some ranges here. And boom, let's go to the 3-day, double click. Previous cycle. Okay, previous cycle right here. Boom, option F. Boom, coming down. And now let's look at where this went. So this went basically 2.618 was a relative sort of top with a deviation kind of up here into the 3.618. So if we do get a bit of a super cycle and things are really pumping, then we may outperform this. If not, then it will be somewhere less than this in this 2.618. So we'll look at the conservative range, and then we'll look at the moonshot math range. And you cannot trade purely on moonshot math. It can make you excited, but don't let that forget what your strategy is and where your profit-taking zones are. Now look at this. From the top to the bottom, look at where price action is also having trouble right now, right into the golden pocket of the macro move. This right here, these two little lines, the 0.618 and the 0.65. Let me make sure I'm not missing any super chats or anything. Shout out Falco gifting 5 memberships. I'm sorry I missed that. I'm so locked into these charts, playing catch up on this market running away, but I appreciate you for gifting the 5 memberships, and I appreciate everybody out here that is a member, whether it's on the YouTube, whether it's in the Academy, whether it's in Signals Lab. Appreciate the love and support. But Ethereum price pushing, look at this, right into the golden pocket, which is also where we had some price trouble here. We also found support here, also some chop right in here. So there's a lot of price level and data level at this zone, which is essentially 3370 up to 34, basically 3500. If we do get a rejection here, it's not the end of the world. It's somewhat expected. A bounce into, a retrace up into the golden pocket. If we get a small rejection here, even coming down to this $2,800 zone wouldn't be terrible. But I expect the bullish narrative to sort of persist right now as Bitcoin is pushing up back above 87.6 I'm looking right now. But let's look at this. Once this clears this zone, the next zone is going to be right here, the 786, this $4,000 mark. Probably a rejection, a little bit of work here, and then the slice up to basically $4,900, the previous all-time high region. Once we clear that, remember the previous cycle saw that zone, the 2.618 was kind of where a lot of rejections were, but we did have the move up into the 3.618. So let's look at the 2.618, which shows about $11,400. Do you think Ethereum can get there? There's a lot of you that thought that Ethereum was dead because it just wasn't moving. There's all these other shiny altcoins, but this has more legacy and trust in it than a lot of the other altcoins do. In fact, the majority of the altcoin ecosystem is built on top of Ethereum. So considering that, I still expect Ethereum to perform tremendously well in this cycle. If we do get a muted cycle for Ethereum, because there is a case where, Sui and Solana and Avalanche and Near Protocol, maybe they take some of the show. Maybe the liquidity goes there. Maybe we don't get all the way up into this, but I do expect we will at least double, near double what the last all-time high was, which would basically put us somewhere in this 1.618, which is $7,400 to up here, the 1.786, which is 8,000. This would be my low range. So let's go ahead and do this. I should have done this on Bitcoin too. Let's do, this would be the low range right in here. And look at this. I'd already marked this out from before, but this would be the low range of the bullish likelihood of this cycle. This would be, let's type it in, low range text. Conservative top. All right. Now let's move this out. Boom. Now this is more likely, I would say, getting up here. Let's move this right up in here. Now let's change the text. I can't even spell conservative. Now let's do And then we got, if we get that sort of super cycle, I expect it to be somewhere up in this region here in the, I'd say $17,000 to $18,000 range. Now this is a little bit of a moon top. This would be like a super cycle top. If we go beyond that, great. That's fantastic. We don't need to have, we shouldn't be expecting a $27,000 Ethereum. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm saying if you're holding out to take profits this cycle for a $27,000 Ethereum, which is a 6.618, you're doing moon math. We got three different levels we can watch for. Basically, this is at basically around $8,000 level. Basically, I would actually put this up just a touch. Basically, the $11,000 to $13,000 level. We make this a little bit wider. And then the super cycle top would be, which would be above the 3.618, which would be somewhere between, about 17 up into about $19,000. That's what I'd be seeing for Ethereum. And what you can do, remember, when you're taking profits, you don't wait for your target and take it all out. You wait for your target. Remember, none of this is financial advice. This is strategy advice. You say, okay, this is a conservative topic, conservative top. I'm going to take a little off the table. 10%, 20%, 40%, whatever you want to do. And you can have two different strategies based on what the data is saying around when price actually hits that. Okay? Now, if this does up here, you took 20% off, but you're able to then take a little bit more off the table. And if it continues up, then you're still being able to basically average your out while mitigating your risk. Okay. Now let's go on to the next one. And remember, Ethereum to Bitcoin chart does show that the move hadn't even really begun. This is ETH to Bitcoin. We've had this downward channel since all the way back here in August 2022. We did have the pump, but look right into the lower bound of this trend line. Once this actually breaks above this, probably chopping here and starts moving up, that's when you start really in the altcoin market ripping, especially Ethereum. But now Link, I shared this in the Discord this weekend. Look at this washout, bear trap, boom, and then launch. Came right down to the target that we already had drawn here from these lows, this bounce right here. Broke down and then launched. And I outlined this last week. I said, watch out for the whipsaw, which would be a move like boom, 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 boom. And this is exactly what is playing out right now. So give yourself a pat on the back if you've been following along, because we've been keeping you in the know about what's happening in this market. And this did have that sweep to the downside. Flushed it out, spring, boom, broke out of this symmetrical triangle that we talked about. Where did it go? Right to this previous high. And you can see if you really jog this all the way out over here, this is where all of this chop is. So it's expected we're having a little bit of an issue right now in terms of price just continuing to the upside. Let's see what plays out here. But in terms of where this can go, remembering that Chainlink is integrated with Swift, remembering that it's providing utility for Web 2, basically the legacy web, right? Data integrated with so many different crypto projects in the ecosystem, as well as legacy finance. And they're also going to be very heavily used, I think, in RWA use cases. Link, I think, is such a hidden gem in this. Let's actually go to an older chart. Link USDT. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, that's all we got. So let's go ahead and do some math here. Let's see let's actually go back to the other chart since it's the same chart. There we go. All right. Now coming from the top, Option F, and look at the bottom here. This bottom had a base that was 500 plus days of sideways action that frustrated so many people. And now we're setting up for something incredible because they've been continually integrating with more and more different projects and companies and global payment systems. And so where we're at right now, conservatively, this is very conservative, I think. This is far too conservative. It's so conservative, I think it's a crime. That would be here in this 1.618 to 1786 region, which would be, let's add some text, I'll say too conservative. And that would be in the $80 to $90 range. I think more likely it's going to be somewhere here in the 3.618. This would be a safe sort of top, somewhere in here, 170 to 220. Okay. It's kind of a safe top. And if we start getting, and Drew from Blockchain Basement did the math on it, if we do start getting integrations with Swift and Chainlink, and then on top of that, you get huge RWA plays or the tokenization of assets, financial products, everything else, which is already happening. But if it starts being becoming popular and actually being utilized by BlackRock and other things with using Chainlink as their underlying chain to do so, then I do think that we can start doing a little bit of moon math there because of that use, which would be, something north of, I would say, that $250 to $320 range. And this, I mean, from where we're at right now, and again, that's moon math, realize that. But where we're at right now, we're about 1390. So they're measuring, the conservative, that's basically a 5x to the conservative target. To the safe top, which would be about a 13x. To the moon math top would be about a 22x. Now, for me, with Chainlink, more so than any other altcoin, Chainlink's something I'm willing to take profits off the table when there is a top, but also leave a percentage, maybe 25% or something, as just a long-term hold. Because moving forward with the amount of integrations and the buying pressures we're seeing on a multi-year time frame as these major players come into the market, governments, institutions, corporations, big money, then we may get a slightly different dynamic of this market moving forward. And maybe some have a full bear cycle in a year and a half. Maybe things like Chainlink and Bitcoin don't. Who knows? We have to adapt every day in this market as this market plays out. So that's what I'm kind of seeing here on Chainlink. Now we're going to run through the rest. I just looked at the time. I get so excited and involved with what's going on here. And I bet everybody, we got member streams going throughout this week. So stay tuned. I'm going to be doing them at different times. And if you're a BitLab member here on the YouTube, make sure you pay attention to that. Now I'm going to do three things real quick. And then we have the giveaway. We'll do 2 giveaways. So everybody, we got 622 people in here, to 410 on Twitter. Make sure you're coming over to this link right here, hitting the retweet, hitting the like button. We got a giveaway from those of you participating today's, and I'll also draw one for next week as well. From last week. So we will do that here in just a moment. So get active on that because we're going to be drawing here in about 5 minutes. So let's do not moon math. Let's look at some things. Avalanche, I think, is going to do very well this cycle. Let's get an older, we'll just do quick. Option F from the top to the bottom. And remember, Avalanche, I think, is going to start having some very strong partnerships pop up as well. And I do expect very conservatively. 1.618, very conservative. That's about 240, okay? About 243. I think it's very possible that we get up here somewhere in this, basically somewhere in this range here, up in the $400 to $500 range. Now, if the super cycle plays out, then it is very possible that we get something up here in the basically $600 to $900 range. But this is something that's going to be if the right partnerships come in. If, you know, there's, remember, when you start getting further down this market cap list, if you have issues with the chain itself, or there's security things or regulation, we still have a possibility of regulation getting slammed down the throats of the crypto market for altcoins between now and January 20th. You have to realize that. But I think this is a very conservative target, 243, which represents roughly, that's a 5.6x from here. If we get in the region that I'm looking for, in the $400 to $600, $400 to $500 range, that's a 13x from where the price is right now. If we go into the moon math phase and we do start pushing up into the 5.618s, and it starts just getting crazy. And I'm not going to do super moon math on the altcoins as we move down the list. But Solana, I think Solana, look at this, breaking out of this massive bull flag. And it's doing the same on the Solana to Bitcoin chart. If we take this from the top to the bottom, I can't even get to the bottom. There we go. Look at how low this went. Guys, how many of you got Solana under $7? Let me know. How many of you under $8, as you say? Actually, let's do it more conservatively. How many of you got Solana under $13 this low right here? Especially if you took advantage of the dip, or I mean, God, you're so on the money if you did. But breaking out $211. Look at this right now. Testing. Tried to break through previous not all-time high, but tried to break through this previous range high and got sucked right down below it. Watch out for a potential opportunity. If this breaks down, it's not over. This means you can still buy in this range. If this does, which is looking like it might have a little bit of an indication, it might try to move to the downside. If it does, take advantage of this opportunity. I'd be looking right here about $191 to $200, right in this zone, option J, which is this previous range top. But if this does start to run away, the next target up here is 255. And then we have here the 1.382, 356. But then conservatively, I'd say 414. And I'd say this would be a joke if Solana got to 414. I think more likely we're going to be, I don't like seeing 2.618 at 666, but I think we're going to be seeing it somewhere realistically in this zone right in here. Basically the 800 to, we can call it 1,000, but I do think there's going to be some front run selling up in this zone. Top. If we do get that super cycle, and there's if, for instance, Solana is unique because Solana hasn't been in discussions about ETFs around it and such. If that happens, and there's actual capital flow and appetite for that Solana ETF, that if it comes out next year, then we could be seeing some super cycle type of mentality where you see Solana up here in the 4.618 or above. But this is conservatively, I'd say somewhere here in the $500 to $600 range. We'll do one more right here. This would be the conservative top right in this this kind of range right in here. God dang it. A lot of appetite there. Now near protocol also breaking out of its range. I can't even see the whole chart there. Let me look at an older chart, USDT. Boom, there we go. We already had it mapped out. Look at that. We already had it mapped out. So we got the fib from here to the bottom. Conservative, $34. I think this would be a freaking joke if near hit 34 and that was the top. Something's wrong because there's so much development happening in the background with near, integrations with AI and so much more. I'd be looking probably somewhere in this range here, the 80 to, anywhere from 80, 75 to $100 range. Somewhere in this range is what I'd be looking for near, but I'm not holding out and not taking any profits until it got to the 4.618. No, you're silly if that's the case. Once it starts breaking above this 1.618, I'd be looking at how I wanted to scale out somewhere in this region based on what the data is saying in the sentiment, appetite, and regulations, and also the delivery of some of these, I don't want to say promises, but the developments that they've been talking about rolling out early next year. Are they getting integrated? Are they getting appetite? Is there appetite for them? What's the sentiment on the market? All those sorts of things. But, in this 50, that's a 10X, right? $54. In this range, I think is a very safe sort of looking top. ONDO is very nearly impossible to talk about where this can go because it's integrated with BlackRock's BitL and their appetite for it. So I'm not even going to give a target for ONDO, but a much, much higher. I think this can do very well. BitTensor, it's a D-pin play as well as an AI play, and it has 21 million total supply. Are you kidding me? This is a newer project, so it's going to be a little bit difficult. I'm not going to go all the way down to this wick. I'll go to this wick right here just to be a little bit more conservative. But the 1.618 is $1,000. I don't think that's happening. I think we're going to be looking at somewhere here. Remember, newer projects, they tend to get a pretty big flood. And remember, people like Chamath Palihapitiya from the All In podcast, major multi-billion-dollar investor and VC person, talking about this on his podcast. I think, if you want to know where I really think, I think we can get somewhere here in the $3,000 to $4,000 range. But I'm going to be looking at scaling out, starting to take some profits, rotating it into some safer bets, or some basically hedging myself once we get above this 2.618 sort of level. Render, man, look at this broke out of this and it's just been riding this trend line. Now launched, broke above this range high right here, but sucked right back into it. This is that next level we're watching, 836. This rejection, bounce, rejection. We're watching what happens here, but once this starts getting to rip, especially if there's more integrations, especially if AI development, things like Sora and also the AI and the NVIDIA conference and things like that next year, I do expect this to do very well, so, as well as ASI and Fetch. Fetch is ASI now. But guys, right now it's time to be stacking. Aerodrome also, this is just getting going. Once this clears this $1.60 range, then next stop up here, 239. And there's so much being built in the base ecosystem. There's no telling where this can go because this still has a relatively low Aerodrome. Let's see, relatively low, just under $1 billion market cap. I think we can still 10x from here. In fact, I think it can probably somewhere in the 16, maybe even 20x, because now with institutions getting involved with crypto, Coinbase having wrapped Bitcoin on the base ecosystem, transacted and processed through the Aerodrome DEX. Guys, there's so much to do here, but shout out to everybody that's tuned in. We got to go, so I'm going to do the giveaway right now. We got 11 and 41. So the first one, have you come over here, hit that retweet. Do it right now, everybody. Get involved so you can take advantage of this. There we go. I just put it in the live chat there. If you're watching on Twitter, I don't know what you do. I do want to shout out again. Thank you to everybody that is a member here. Thank you. If you are watching here on Twitter, just note right down below in the comments, we have the BitLab deal that we have that is expiring here very soon. They got that link right there. If you want to join our free traders group where we've been posting all kind of different trades, we have the whole basically free. There's a free section of trading and technical analysis and crypto signals lab that's going to be the group is already here. We have a bunch of courses and stuff that you're going to have free access to as well. That's in here. That's going live this week after a lot of headaches that we were working on in the last month. And also, if you want to get NordVPN, head right here, nordvpn.com/BitLab. Get yourself protected. And then, of course, getarculus.com. Use code LAB10 if you want 10% off, or I think it's BitLab20. It might be Lab20. You can try that for 20% off as well. But let's see. We got two numbers, 11 and 41. Let me go ahead and do some math on that. We're going to divide 41 by 11. Where's my calculator? I'm just going to make sure that is accurate. 41 divided by 11, 3.72, round up. That's 4. So, all right. One of you, we're going to count up to 4. And those of you that, let's see. Where's the, I want to see post engagement. Here we go. No quote cheats, reposts. All right. 1, 2, 3. Tony Zubiria, you get an Arculus wallet I will follow you and send me a message. I will send you a message. We'll get you sorted. And then also we have, let's do, all right. So we got one more. That was 4. So let's count last week. That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So Thursday last week. What date was Thursday last week? Let's see. What is today? Thursday last week was the 7th. So let's see on the 7th right here. Let's see. You guys believe that's me? That's when I graduated from tech school, I think, while I was in the Air Force. Yesterday was Veterans Day, so shout out to all the veterans out there. That's me, little 18-year-old young lad, Mr. Airman Kellum right there, baby. November 7th. Let's get to it. All right. And we'll do the number 11. So let's see. View post engagement, repost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nicole Tater, you win, baby. Shout out to you. Shout out to Tater. Let me know if you already have an Arculus. If you do, I can send you another one for shake and bake, or we can come up with something else to send over to you. And we still have the disco ball here. And I'm going to get this up because now it's party time that the market is ripping. Shout out to everybody. I appreciate you. Big love. Everybody hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell. We're going to head over to the blockchain basement now. Let's go flood in the comments there. Say BitLab is here in the comments on blockchain basement. You can just stay right here. When I end, it will automatically send you there. Also, make sure you sign up for BitLab Academy here as a member on the YouTube or right over there on that link, lab.bitlabacademy.com/deal. I love you guys. That's all I got. Adios. Muchachos, this market is going to be so much higher. Stack in. Don't mess this up. That's all I got. Adios.